Hello, everybody, and welcome back to VGR. And today we'll be diving right into the news about Telltale Games, or what used to be Telltale Games, and what could be in store for the future of the brand name. Thanks to a company called LCG Entertainment, we may be seeing several of Telltale's old IP rise from the dead, but with a few caveats. First of all, it doesn't seem like anything will be coming out anytime soon. This acquisition is very recent, and it's unlikely that LCG will be able to work out any of the kinks of this transition in the next year. And probably out.
Certainly, certainly. They said that at least for the next 6 months, they're going to be very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to mainly be working on internal development, tech, engines and tools and that sort of thing. We're unlikely to see any big news out of them straight away, but of course that's sort of the norm for any new studio.
Of course, and you said they're doing a lot of work in engine development, which makes sense because, as everyone across the industry has acknowledged, Telltale's engine was a bit rickety at the best of times.
Yes.
with little done to improve it since their first game. But hopefully that can change under new ownership. The second caveat is that all of their IP could possibly returning without the possibility of The Walking Dead as of yet. That has returned to its former owners. And third of all, some of the former employees for Telltale Games may get a spot at the new Telltale at LCG. Of course, there's a caveat to that caveat, being that they will be offered a position as freelancers for now. So it's kind of up in the air as to whether or not anyone has accepted or will accept those positions.
Not to mention, of course, that the new studio will actually be 400 miles away from where it was originally.
It doesn't help, but no.
No. But yes, most of their existing catalogue was removed from digital stores because of various licensing deals and whatnot when the studio did collapse. So games like Wolf Among Us and Batman haven't been available on online platforms like Steam for quite some time. And this sort of reacquisition could lead to a lot of those games coming back. But as you say, The Walking Dead, the license has reverted to Skybound. So that's not going to be coming back, at least in the near future, unless they can work out a licensing deal. And there's a couple of others. I think when the company collapsed, they were working on negotiations with Netflix to create a Stranger Things game.
Mm-hmm.
And that license has since reverted back to Netflix.
Yes, so, indeed.
They never built anything for that.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the Stranger Things game in the works, and that kind of goes to show just how many projects Telltale had, how many balls they had up in the air.
They did have a lot.
A lot, and all of them licensed properties. I mean, they didn't have a single thing that they could call their own, and so I think this is going to be interesting to see what comes out of LCG Entertainment. I think it was very easy for people to jump on board and say, "Oh, Telltale is back," without really examining the intricacies of this deal.
Yes, certainly. It's mainly being headed by two investors and former developers and executives, Jamie Ottley and Brian Waddle, and neither of them worked at Telltale, and it doesn't seem like they've got anyone in their team who are sort of Telltale veterans. Their own background, I think Ottley his background is mainly in developing licensed mobile games, and Waddle was involved with marketing and sales for the Havoc game engine.
Mm-hmm.
So game industry backgrounds, but not necessarily immediately applicable to Telltale. And then obviously the backing is coming from Leo Technologies Holdings, which is a Chinese company, and that's coming through Athlon Games.
Mm-hmm.
And Athlon Games is going to be handling the distribution of their new titles as well as their online store. Athlon Games is a bit of a weird creature. It's a relatively new platform, and it hasn't made anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you can look up an online store for them, and I think they have a licensing deal to do something with Lord of the Rings. but it hasn't come out yet.
Mm-hmm. It's all a bit vague, and it seems like there are a lot of
Yes.
entities at play here. A lot of IP being exchanged. Certainly, a lot of things happening behind closed doors that we are not privy
Yes.
to.
It's
so
interesting
kind
to
of
note
all
as
begs the question
well.
of what is the future of Telltale Games? Will it ever be the studio it once was?
Well, it's interesting to note as well. Some of the financial backing for this acquisition came from a group of executives from a kind of big variety of studios, including Rebellion, Starbreeze, and Heavy Iron Studios.
Interesting.
So there's major gaming people in the background here, helping to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
it's obviously it's being done because it's being seen as a profitable move.
Absolutely,
That's
this could be a
the
gold
only reason
mine.
why this could be done. Well, you say that. for all of Telltale Games' successes, a moneymaker it apparently was not.
No, certainly not.
Although that may well have been down to poor management decisions and whatnot.
Yeah, and it really was. I mean, I think a lot of money was spent acquiring licenses and IP and names, and not enough on paying its employees,
Yes.
and in developing, in spending time in R&D, developing a new engine, and therefore just what we were left with was a complete oversaturation of the market that Telltale had carved for themselves.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And they totally shot themselves in the foot. So hopefully, this can be a gold mine if there's a big if LCG Entertainment can learn from its past mistakes, if they can do something new with a solid engine, new IP, and if they can get enough of the old Telltale staff on board to make this feel like it really has the bones and heart of the old Telltale, of the first few years of Telltale Games.
It's worth noting as well that at this point we don't know that the new Telltale will endeavour to actually replicate what the old Telltale was doing. If they don't have the same art team or design team, then the kind of Telltale style of game, visually speaking, might still remain a thing of the past. The studio might well adopt a new style. Now, the two kind of leads on this have talked about their desire to kind of rebuild what Telltale was doing, so it seems like they're in favour of the format, the kind of story-driven, narrative-driven gameplay experiences. But during an interview with Polygon, I think it was Otterly said that the way that they deliver content would potentially change to be sort of brought into a more modern space, and one of the things he pointed to was an episodic release being a thing that they might not do anymore. Instead focusing on just delivering a single game rather than releasing 5 episodes over the span of 12 months.
And that's an interesting move to me, right? Because I think that screams that they're trying something new right out of the gate. Whether it's new and is going to be a success, only time will tell. But I have high hopes because there are a lot of big industry names at play here, and even if they're not big industry names, there are guys who have been doing this for a very long time and in some aspect of the gaming industry for a while, and hopefully that means they can kind of recognize the faults of the previous Telltale, of the mismanagement of the former company, and let a great phoenix rise from the ashes.
Yes, and hopefully they do live up to the legacy that they've got, and this doesn't just turn into a second-rate mobile studio.
I think that
I admit it is a worry in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I think it's sitting with all of us right now, but like I said, only time will tell what the future of Telltale Games holds for the industry as a whole. I think fans at their core are hoping for a rich, in-depth, story-driven experience, just like the Telltale of old. But until we find out more about the new Telltale and what LCG has in store, that'll do it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning into VGR, and check back on the channel for more news and content. Thanks so much.